Hi everyone, welcome back to Cottoverdi. My name's Annette, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. And we garden here in South Buckinghamshire in the UK, which is equivalent to a zone 8B. And we garden in a gorgeous English cottage garden, and it's a beautiful old walled garden, so we're incredibly lucky. And when I say we, I'm talking about my husband Richard and I, and we do all the gardening here. Today's project is to tidy up this border here. Now it's a long border that we call the dahlia bed because it was created specifically for dahlias many years ago. Well, not many years ago, a few years ago. But now we've planted it up with loads of other things. It's not just dahlias anymore. We've got shrubs and perennials in there, and we've cleared all the dahlias that were in this border. We cleared those last week and we've packed them away. If you're interested to know why we dig or whether you should dig your dahlias and how to store them, I've got videos, really detailed ones on my channel that I've just recorded, and you can have a look at those. But today I'm going to talk you through what we're doing on this border to tidy it up. Now I am definitely at a stage where I am tired of looking at black things, and so I'm probably going to clear a lot more of this border than I might have done in the past. But what I'm going to do is talk you through the different plants that we have here and let you know whether or not I'm going to pull them out and why, and whether or not I'm going to prune them now or wait until the spring. And I thought I'd bring you along for this process. It's something that we have to do, and I'm hoping to get the whole border done with Richard's help, but we'll see how much we get done, because I'd also, where we've cleared it, like to mulch it as well, and I'll talk you through that process when we do that. So let's just see how much we can get done today before it starts raining again, because it rained pretty much all morning. It's finally stopped, so we've rushed out here to do this. So it's a little bit difficult to see, but there is a pathway between the two borders here, and this is the border that I'm talking about. Now it's probably 5 foot deep and has taller shrubs down the centre that will get much bigger over the years because they're young still. We buy our plants when they're quite small because it's more affordable that way. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to start the other side of this border, and then hopefully, if we have time, well, I don't know, maybe Richard and I will do one side each. Let's see how that goes. So if we look at this area here, we've got a lot of cleared ground where we had dahlias. There are a few annuals in still, so this is like some larkspur, and there's some snapdragons, and I'm just going to pull those out. I've got some anemones at the front here. We need to trim the edge of the border to neaten it up, because then it'll look neat all through the winter. I'm going to tie in some of the roses onto this rose arch, and we're going to pull out big things like this. This is a cosmos, and it's completely done, finished. So we're going to pull the entire plant out. Next to it here, we have a veronicastrum, and I like to leave the veronicastrum in because they've got beautiful seed heads and they'll look quite pretty over the winter, and they shouldn't flop. So anything that I think might flop, if it's a perennial, I'll cut it back. But where I think that it's going to stay upright through the winter, then I'm going to take it out. So right along the front here, there are loads of annuals, sort of mixed in the border actually. So we've got things like snapdragons and nicotiana and larkspur and clarkia, and I'm going to take all of those out. So that will clear the ground, and then we'll be left with perennials that we'll leave in the border. So Richard and I are just going to start from the beginning here and see how it goes. Okay, so we've made a really good start. We've pulled out all of the annuals, we're tackling the weeds as we go along, and I've also started edging the border from that end. I think it just looks better through the winter months. If the border is edged, it just looks so much neater and tidier, and the grass just really won't grow from this point onwards. It's not really cold at the moment, but I don't see a lot of growth in the grass because our light levels are so low. The other thing I've done is I have left the Rebecca Sahara just down here. It's on a slight tilt, but it's got really nice seed heads, and I think the birds and the insects will enjoy those still. So until it falls over, I'm just going to leave that. When it falls over, I'll cut it down to the ground. I've also left the fashionably early phlox. I haven't left it, I've cut it back because it's very low growing and a bit spindly and floppy at this time of year, so I've cut that back because it'll just become a wet, bedraggled mess. I've taken off all the old poppy seed heads from the gorgeous royal wedding poppies that I transplanted last year, and they've done really well, and I'd left the seed heads through the summer, but I've taken them all off now because they were just looking a bit dank and miserable. What else have I done? I've taken out any of the self-seeded Verbena bonariensis that was growing along the edge because it's not helpful when it grows along the edge, and I will move some of that into the middle of the border. And there are also some foxgloves around where Richard is weeding at the moment, and we're going to move those into the centre of the border as well, because any foxgloves that have grown this year will flower beautifully next year. So I want those flowers, but I don't want them right on the edge where they're self-seeded. So let's go and move those now actually. So these are the foxgloves that are too close to the edge of the border. We're going to move those. I've left the hydrangea heads because they look really nice through the winter months, and there's a very upright phlox here, and I'm going to leave those seed heads on at the moment because it's still upright. So we're planting the foxgloves in amongst all the self-seeded nigella. This is a really big patch of self-seeded nigella. It comes back every year and it looks really, really pretty. And I think the foxgloves are going to look really nice shooting up through the middle of that. So this is a Verbena bonariensis that I've taken out from near the edge of the border, and I'm going to plant it quite close to this hibiscus because the hibiscus is really late to leaf out, and it also flowers very late in the season. And so the Verbena is going to add a little bit of colour in that spot until that shrub comes into its own. Okay, so we have cleared the beds, taken out all the annuals, we've weeded to the best of our ability and willingness at this point in time. It's getting dark, so I just want to finish this project. So as I said, we've taken out all the annuals and weeds, and we've pruned back any of the perennials that we want to prune back at this point in time. We will leave some, as I've said, for the insects and the birds through the winter months. I found the odd bit of millet that's self-seeded in these beds from some that I sowed a few years ago. I think it was called Sitaria italica or something like that, and it seems to pop up here and there, and I think the birds really do appreciate those seed heads. So I'm leaving those, and we've moved a couple of plants around. So now what we're going to do is mulch the border. When I say we, I mean Richard, because he's the mulcher, but we like to lay quite a thick layer of farmyard manure, well-rotted farmyard manure. We buy it in well-rotted, and we lay that on top of the soil. We don't dig it in or anything. We just put a thick layer on top of the soil, because over the winter the cold temperatures and the frost will break it down. The worms will drag it into the earth, and it will just add lots of nutrients nutrients for next season, and also farmyard manure is really good for structure in the soil as well. So that's why we use that as our mulch at this time of year. Looks really good now it's been mulched. We haven't gone quite to the edge, we need to do that. All these plants along the front here are anemones that I planted in the summer in the hope of getting an autumn display. But unlike other areas of the garden where they flowered, this particular border here, I haven't got any flowers. Now I don't know whether that's the variety of anemone or whether that's because these were kind of smothered by dahlias. And other plants, and perhaps didn't get enough light, so they didn't flower, but hopefully they will flower in the spring along with all the other anemones. I've got a self-seeded Signoglossum there, forget-me-not, a Chinese forget-me-not, that's still in flower. There's one little phlox that's still in flower. I've got a campanula around that side that's still in flower, and there are a couple of rosebuds here. And then other than that, it's just winter structure with the Veronicastrum and the hibiscus. Here we've got an Elaeagnus quicksilver, and at the far end we've got the Physocarpus. And then just some salvias and roses and other things like that. These are the foxgloves that we replanted, and the Rudbeckia that I've left in down there. But that's about it for today. I really hope you've had fun with us as we cleared this border and got it ready for the winter. Well, in fact, for next season. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.